Yeah. All right, everyone. Good evening. I call this October meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, thank you, everyone. So we'll approve the agenda shortly. I wanted Joanne Cunningham to go ahead and present. She is on the agenda, but we'll go ahead and let her present before we actually approve the agenda. If you're okay, if everybody's okay with that.
Okay to stand?
You're fine.
Perfect. So good evening, everyone. I'm here to share a little bit about Decatur County United Fund and give an update to the RUMC board, and be able to share this information is a privilege, and we appreciate the opportunity for sure. Our 2025 United Fund campaign is United We Bring Hope. And we feel like that truly symbolizes the work of the United Fund and what we're trying to accomplish with the many partnerships, collaborations, and advocacy that we do throughout the community. And I think that's the key piece to a majority of our work. Our focus is really to bring positive change to individuals. We're not trying to literally fix people, but we're trying to give them the hand up that they need, not just the hand out. So I think there's a big difference between that. We all know sometimes when you give away free things, guess what happens the following week? They come back and want that again. Where United Funds programs and services, we have 15 partners providing 17 different programs, is really about case management and walking people through the steps to move to self-sufficiency. And it's really about accountability, impact, measurable outcomes, and really changing the trajectory of someone's life and where they're moving and going to. So United Funds programs are very diverse. We have help with food insecurity, with domestic violence, with child abuse, advocacy, with mentoring. It is many layers of different things, very tough issues many times. So it's not something that we as a board and staff have decided. It's very hard. These are not quick fixes. And you really need someone in that case management side, as we've talked about, that really can walk you through the steps for that change. And I think that's the key piece. We have many different partnerships throughout the community. We're very fortunate to come out and make presentations like this. We present at many manufacturers, the schools, businesses, and other entities. And, you know, sometimes we say it's not always about just making an ask to support the United Fund, but also to share the resources. And I think your brochure lends very well to that. Much of that information is actually on our website at dcuf.com, so you can look at it there. But the agencies, some of the impact and outcomes, their websites and contact information are also there. And it's about knowing what those resources are, and maybe the possibility of you being able to help out a family member, a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, and knowing what those resources that we support and how relevant they are in the community as well. Last year, we had about 10,075 individuals take advantage of a program or service. Our population is 26,466 odd number there. We had 10,075 individuals take advantage of a program or service. So these resources are still very valuable to Decatur County. We're small and we're rural, but we still are, you know, need these resources to be able to help address the needs that are concerns for everyone. At this time, Brett, I'm going to have you queue up our video, and then I'll add a few summary pieces to that afterwards. So each year we try and feature some different agencies in our video piece, and those are a few other agencies that are funded by Decatur County United Fund. I have just a few initiatives that I also want to mention because they are very relevant to our community as well. We have 770 children enrolled in receiving books in the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Say that fast a couple times, it's hard to do. We've actually had 153 graduates from that program. We are actually in our 6th year. So it's an early learning and reading program, great early education piece, but a great partnership with the hospital and the Hospital Foundation and Centerpoint Energy and the Indiana Library as well, and the United Fund. We administer that program. Camp Invention, we had 62 students participate. It is a STEM camp, science, technology, engineering, and math at North Decatur. Linda Smith was the lead teacher on that and coordinator for us, does an amazing job. There's only one camp per county, and Linda helps us provide that here in Decatur County as well. United Fund also supports the hospital's health fair at Greensburg and Westport. Those are free resources to the community. We help promote those as well in partnership with them, but we do support those healthy fairs. We also have received part of the mental health grant that through the Community Foundation. We received some funding there and have distributed 100 Hope Boxes. And those Hope Boxes include information about 988 suicide prevention, the 211 brochure in Spanish and English, some information from the crisis intervention team with their resources, and also the United Fund brochure. They do include some snacks and some hygiene products, and they are a touch point for conversations. I think we have 9 different areas throughout the community: Adams Fire Department, Westport Fire Department, Washington Township Trustees, the library, Bread of Life, the CIT, the Crisis Intervention Team receives some as well. A few other entities, but 9 different locations throughout the community that have those Hope Boxes to hand out. We are going into colder and winter months. I think that will be a time when we see many of those boxes distributed out, but we're very fortunate to have received those grant dollars as well. We also monitor and coordinate a Grounds for Change nonprofit meeting quarterly in partnership with the Greensburg Community Bread of Life and Washington Township Trustees. And that's for any nonprofit within the community, not just our funded partners. And we have had some great networking that has happened from that. At the last meeting, we actually did a nonprofit speed dating event. And as I've shared in other presentations, the volume in the room just kept getting louder and louder and louder. So one quick example of that is Girl Scouts is now going to offer Head Start a Girl Scout troop, so that the Head Start families can now be a part of Girl Scouts as well. And that's just one example from that nonprofit networking that we've been doing. Last year, we did exceed goal. We're going to talk about the goal total here in just a moment, but we did award a little over $51,000 out to 13 agencies because we exceeded goal. Community dollars we raise, they go back to work in the community as well, and we want that to be distributed back to our funded partners. We awarded a Governor's Work Ethic Certification Scholarship, and that recipient this year was Brant Akra from the Greensburg High School, and that's based on attendance, academics, and a volunteer project that he completed as well. Day of Caring was just successful here back in September. We had, I believe, 22 projects completed. We had over 100 volunteers participate in that. It's a great day of service. It's a great way for companies to allow their employees to give back. Many of the nonprofits in Decatur County have 2 to 3 employees. So to have someone come in and refresh all their landscape or clean all the windows and do all those things is great helping hands, and they all appreciate that very much. So we talk about campaign. Brett, do you remember what our campaign goal is?
Gosh, I don't.
$585,000. Being someone who has to be in the office, I know exactly what our campaign goal is. $585,000. I am pleased to share today, where's my note at? I have it here somewhere, that our campaign at the Decatur County United Fund is at 58.4%. We have $341,653 pledged. So if you have in your back pocket $243,347, come see me. I'm happy to talk to you. We are waiting on some companies to do some reporting. We have a few campaign presentations next week. We are out and about still in the community. We go until we reach goal. We have had some very successful years in the past and reach over the $600,000 mark. We are fairly conservative. We knew we had the election year and many other things, so we wanted to make sure we didn't have to make cuts at the very end if we were not to reach goal. If we exceed goal, obviously, we will award some special grants, but we are on track. So we talk about hope, and the hope stands for H is knowing that help is available. O is the optimism to overcome the challenges. P is the positive thoughts moving through the process. And E is the expectations of good things to the future. So we appreciate that opportunity. If you want to make a contribution or contribute to the Decatur County United Fund, we're located at 108 South Broadway, Suite 1, Greensburg, Indiana, 47240. And you can send a check. You can also go on our website at dcuf.com, and there is a QR code. You can use that on your phone and simply pledge that way as well. So we try to make it as easy as we can for anyone to make that consideration. So, but we appreciate the opportunity today. I know you have other business to get to, so I appreciate the opportunity, right, Steve? Yes.
I got a couple things too. So
okay.
If you're going to give, definitely go through us because we do a company match.
Yay, we love that.
So second thing I would say is we are a co-op. One of our founding principles is community, and being on the board and part of the board for 8 years now.
Something like that, yes.
I can tell you that the 15 organizations and staying local appeals to me a lot because your dollars go a bunch of different ways. I think it's 1 in 4 of people in our community receive some type of service from them. Is it 1 in 4?
Yes, yes. Actually, we're closer to 1 and almost 1 in 3.
So
Getting
like
closer to that
when you
also.
think about the services, it's like she said, it's not necessarily a handout. I mean, 1 in 3 or 4 people that have used it. In fact, we actually, my wife and I, when her mom passed away, we used bereavement services. So the folks that use these services aren't just, people looking for handout. So and then last thing, Joanne does an excellent job. And thank you for coming and what you do.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, we have an open door at the United Fund. Feel free to stop in and see us. We're happy to answer any questions or concerns that you might have as well.
Friday at noon is the deadline
For here.
Yes.
Yes.
If you want to do it through here. Like I said, I would highly recommend that just because we'll match it. So Friday at noon, fill this out, get us a check, do whatever.
We appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
So if I want to give the 200 and whatever odd thousand, you're going to double it?
Well, I mean,
That is a great question. Yes.
that is not in the budget. No. You will have to.
Come talk to me. We'll see what we can do.
Be in person.
Yes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, so at this time, we'll go ahead and approve the agenda, realizing that we've already covered the United Fund campaign, agenda item number 6. So we can still leave it as is, but I just wanted to. So we'll approve we need to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a first and a second. Suzanne, Brian, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. It's unanimous. Next item then has to do with the safety minute and full moment. Brad?
Yeah, so for the safety moment, I put together 2 here. One, team driver safety week is November 19th through the 25th. So, I've got a team driver. So, and then second of all, just fire prevention. There's a big push through the co-op systems that we did a lot of marketing around fire prevention. So keep those things in mind. Keep going. Sure. All right, cool moment. I actually have 3. We couldn't land on one, so we just added all 3. So the first one on the left, we did a community day, and so what we normally do is the United Fund has a community day also, but we kind of do in partnership with it, but we do it on the date for the co-ops. So co-ops kind of do the same thing, right? So we've been shutting down the office once a year to do some type of team building event. And some of the employees brought up, hey, why don't we do a team building event and kind of close down the office and go out and do this community day? So we shut down the office, I think, 2 Fridays ago. Went out to South Decatur. We painted 2 dugouts, a concession stand, and then stained a bridge and some benches. And so we donated the materials and we went out there as a team. And then we had a couple linemen cook, actually there was a couple of ladies up front helped too. So we cooked and had lunch out there, invited the teachers out with us. I thought it was a really, really success. People got to sit around and, it's, we don't get very often when when you're with your coworkers to talk about family and things that matter in life more than just your job. So it was kind of really nice to hear the discussions and the things that were going on. So that was the first one we did. Second one, we did have a event here. So there's two types of events that we try to do, and we try to stagger the different times and things so that we try to hit up all, whether it's at night or during the day. And so a town hall there's a formal presentation. We kind of go through that and open it up for questions. But then we have these just open. And so folks can come in, they grabbed some breakfast and came in, and people could just kind of congregate. Dale was here. I don't know if you got anything to add there, but we had a pretty good participation.
Talked to a lot of different people, and my standard comment was, I don't know anything, but all the people that do know something are in this room, and I can direct them. I mean, I directed to Brett, to Sam, to Johnny. Different people had different questions, and I thought it went very well.
Yeah, it was good. My whole leadership team was here, so that way we could kind of direct them to whoever they needed to talk about, whether it was trees or staying with fiber. So those are good events. And then last, but not least, I was asked, so during an EDC meeting, we always kind of go around and give business updates. And so I gave a quick update, and quite honestly, I had two people after the EDC meeting come up to me and say, you guys need to talk about this more. Like, you are doing a lot, right? And so I put together so then I got asked to do a similar presentation at the Rotary Club. And so last week we had the opportunity to speak at the local Rotary Club about the co-op's direction and priorities. We shared how our long-term vision led to the development of our fiber project and continue to guide our strategies in the future. We also highlighted our ongoing investments in the infrastructure aimed at improving system reliability. Our key reliability metrics show positive trends and demonstrate we are making the right investments. Despite making significant investments in our system, we have been able to maintain base rates since 2019 and remain at the medium among electric co-ops in the state. This reflects our commitment to both reliability and affordability of our members. And, I gave this and I showed it with data, right? And my whole point of it is look at all the things that we're doing and still being able to, and I told them, I said, I'm going to show you the metrics and you decide, are we hitting our commitments? And it really, really went over well. The questions there were excellent. And so I think you all should pat yourself on the back in this cool moment, because we're doing a lot of good things when it comes to, if you look at our system reliability, we're trending in the right way, which means we're making the right investments. We went from spending roughly in CapEx about $800,000 a year to a little over $3 million. And that was intentional to invest in aged infrastructure, and it's paying off, and we're able to do it and keep our rates reasonable. So I thought it was a really, really good story. Like I said, we had great questions that came up afterwards, and I thought it went over really well. So I think it's an applaud to you. And sometimes we don't ever celebrate our wins. And I think if you look at what we've done here in the last couple of years, it's really panning out well. So thank you.
Good. Thanks for doing that. Question. Can I add something to your cool moment? So I had this text today or this week, and I wanted the board to hear it because we don't really get this feedback very often. I was going to send it to you guys, and I just didn't. It's from a member. It says, "Hi, Jason. I know you're busy. Just wanted to let you know we're very pleased with our new internet. Everyone was very nice. And it works great. No more from Dave. Is the internet down again? Have a great day. Always nice to hear good news." So I thought I'd pass that along because I don't get a lot of feedback on the people that have been hooking up. So congratulations to you guys.
Very good.
Yes, thank you. All right, go to the next topic for your information. Anybody have anything that they have a few questions regarding that piece?
Okay, I'll go first.
Sure, go ahead.
Matthew, there was a Bar Ritchie invoice that came through, and it's broken down. I think it says general governance, blah, blah. I'm not sure what all. Are we still tracking expenses related to the lawsuit separately?
Yes.
And so which category of those that are in that invoice would that be?
If it was lawsuit, it would say dash lawsuit.
Okay.
But she isn't directly billing us for those hours. Those are going through insurance. So when we get those numbers, and I haven't showed you guys that in a while, I probably should. I'm getting those from Federated.
Okay.
Maybe not every single hour, but most of those hours will be.
Anything I get that relates.
I just want to make sure it's still being tracked so you can reference it. Okay.
I'll actually take an action item to show you where we're at on those numbers for next month.
So did you do the Cougar baseball dugouts and the Charger baseball dugouts both?
We did put ND over top of the concessions.
It says NDHS dugouts, and we were just talking about South Decatur.
It was South Decatur.
Yeah.
Okay, it's labeled Chargers.
Gotcha.
If we did both, that'd be great, but I just want to clarify.
No, we did not do. Charger instead of Cougar.
I mean, I'm all for taking things up north, but you know.
You struck a nerve with this.
Sweet home. I'm like, oh, you did Decatur's too.
All right, anybody have anything else for your information?
One question. Second check register, page 4 at the bottom. There's 2 heat pump rebates to the same person. Is that typical? Is that?
Somebody did 2 houses.
I mean, is it?
I don't.
There's not a.
I didn't.
So is it different meter, different?
I can't speak for sure on that, but that'd be my assumption.
I can find out.
Well, it's just a little peculiar with checking.
I'm assuming they did too.
I know that individual.
Those do get rebated back. So in other words, we'll cut a rebate, but then we get reimbursed from future.
But it's not per customer, it's per meter, per location,
Per unit, or so typically a house. Although there are houses that it's per unit. I mean, if you have, some of these bigger houses nowadays can have 2 units. I'll find out though. It's a good question.
Everyone good if we continue on then to the next item? Okay. The next item is then to approve the meeting minutes from September morning. They are published.
I'm going to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. Okay, so the September meeting minutes have been approved. We've already heard the United Fund presentation. So the next item, Brad, has to do with the operational strategic oversight.
Yeah, I did forget this one, so I was just going to show you guys. We are going to add a slide, so you're going to get a cool moment, a safety minute, and then a what's coming up. And so, as you guys know, we did the meter tampering penalty last month. We're going to be implementing that next month. So it's going to be in our magazine. You're going to see an article in there that says your meter equals our responsibility, and it's going to talk about why that's important, not to tamper your meter, blah, blah, and then what the penalty is. We are going to, we have a 1-pager that we're going to put on our front counter. It's going to run in our magazine. We're going to do a bill stuffer, and then we're taking the 1-pagers up to the courthouse so that anybody that pulls a permit, they'll get one. So we feel like we're trying to do our job of getting in front of this so people know, hey, if you tamper with this, there's a penalty for it. right? So we'll start actually doing that next month once once we get all of our marketing piece done. Second of all, if you know any youths that want to take part in the Camp Kilowatt or Page Day, and then the last one is the Student Art Contest is coming up, and then Youth Tour. So those things are all going to be they actually start registration next month. So that'll be part of the magazine. And then as you can see there, we're going to do some marketing around what's coming up, which is Thanksgiving. All right, I'm going to keep rolling. So for Fiber Project update, couple things. One, so we're about 143 miles of 145 of the main line. So we are on track to having all the backbone, laterals, and the MSTs hung by the end of next week. There's a photo of it. So the three yellow pieces are the ones that we are still building. Although we finished the one that went over 74, so the one that looks like a U, that is completed. So now all we have is those two. The miles that are left, which is 2, are those 2 little yellows. So that will complete the entire backbone, everything but literally sort of the drops and then the splicing. We still got to come in behind and do splicing. So we did add another crew to start. They started this week on the drops. The idea is that we're starting to get to the point where our backlogs, and we got a bunch more that getting ready to open up. And so we brought another crew in. They started on Monday. So there's 2 crews from Lit Fiber that are working on our drops with SCI. So that'll speed things up. DA1 and DA3 are completely open now. So of those, we've contacted 464 members, and we have 170 signed up as of this morning. So that's first calls were roughly at 35% take rate. We've got 288 more members to call, so that are open. We did make a decision. So instead of hiring what our business case told us that we were going to need, which is another MSR, we have our 2 MSRs today. We're doing some overtime, so we've offered them some overtime, and they're happy to do it. So they are making the extra calls, Dale. That's why they were up there still working tonight. And then one of the other contractors that we have hired in the operations, you guys haven't met her, Linda, she is working an hour, I think, a day making these phone calls. So we got 288 still to make of what's open. And then, as I said, we're going to be rolling off these other DAs. So I think it's going really, really well as far as the take rates and things right now. So DA4 is next. They've got some light level things that they got to work out, which is going to create a little bit of rework. So we're thinking the end of next week, we'll be ready for DA4 to open. So then DA5 is 2 weeks out, and DA6, which is our last one, is worst case scenario 5 weeks out. Now those could vary depending on the rollouts and how quickly. What we don't want to do is open an area and then, it's a month before you get put on, right? So we've actually extended from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, but we don't want to get into that 4th week. So depending on how that goes, DA6 could be out as far as 5 weeks. I did hear from Sam this morning that within the by the end of November, we will have VoIP available. So that was something that surprised us a little bit. We kind of deprioritized it, but there's a lot of people asking. So a lot of folks.
What is that?
Voice. It's voice.
Voice.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
thank you.
phone line.
Thank you.
So that will be up and going in November, which we were kind of planning on that being something next year, but we kind of put it back in priority. We did have our first drop member, which means they took service and then they dropped it. And so it wasn't surprising because that was someone who asked us, like, how much does it cost to do a drop? And we obviously told them, I would say publicly, that right now we are not charging for drops, but that doesn't mean in the future that we wouldn't. So point here is I'm telling you that we're going to monitor this, but if folks are just taking service so that we put the drop in so that if we would charge in the future for drops, it's expensive. I mean, you're talking another $1,500 to do a drop. So if someone's not wanting to take the service, but they're wanting us to do the drop, so they're telling us they want the service, that we may need to put a policy for that. SCI did tell us about this and said, think through that, because you don't want to spend $1,500 on a location and them never take service, right? So in other words, it may not even be a house that somebody's there, but it might be something that, hey, we're going to build on here eventually. Those are the ones, and we've even maybe floated the idea of maybe everybody gets a coupon that says you get one free, drop, so that folks don't feel like they have to right when we're there. We'd rather not do the drop if they don't plan on taking service. Does that make sense? In other words, if you do the $1,500, and some of them are as close to $3,000 to do that drop, if that house or land or whatever it is, barn, is never going to take service, it'll never pay for itself, right? So I'm bringing it up because we had our first one. We're going to monitor it. If we think we need to do something, we'll bring you guys policy ideas.
So did they ever get service? The drop, there was no service, but
Nope, they signed up and then they canceled it literally once the drop got put in. So we never got any, we never built, we never tried.
So these colors are your DA designations.
Yep.
Right? So which ones are open? These colors on this map?
So 1, 2, and 3 are the bottom right. So the big one there on the bottom is 1. I think 2 is yellow and 3 is kind of that blue color.
So those are all open right now?
Yep.
And then when's the next one?
You're talking about yours? Roughly 5 weeks max.
5 weeks?
Max.
Depending on, out of the 200, they get tons of people to sign up. They don't want to have people in the queue.
Yeah.
I'm telling you 5 weeks, it could be 2. It could be 3. I don't know.
Not that you have it now, but do you have a percentage of what our take rate is?
So roughly right now, it's about 35%. But that is based on, it's hard to give you a take rate because it's based on, we're opening new areas every day. I've asked a bunch of folks, like, what was your initial take rates at? In other words, the denominator is going up every day and you're not making phone calls. So we have 288 that we haven't even made phone calls to. So they don't even know probably that it's open. So I asked what's normal and they said anywhere from 20 to 30% is really, really good. And so we're at 35% at this point. We haven't even made, this excludes the 288. So
There's also people that called, I need to talk to my spouse. I don't necessarily circle back. This is one phone call and they took it. So
Yep.
I
on the first call. So we're 35%.
feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. Yep, me too. All right, so that's phase 1. As far as BEAD, I want to talk about, okay, so here's the updated numbers too, as far as kind of where we're at as far as phase 2. So I attached in the board packet the statement of work that we literally just got like yesterday. It was amended this morning. So sorry for being late here, but we have an opportunity. Sorry, go ahead. No, I'm going to. So when we talk through this statement of work, it's an interest statement of work that's going to get us going on BEAD. When we talk through this is a third-party contract, so it is confidential. So please don't spout numbers and things out. But we need to talk through it because I need to get approval if you guys want to take the option. So essentially, interest. So what we're proposing is we go ahead and get started on BEAD, right? To the tune again. So you can see the number. It's in the last page of this if you want to see it. But here's what that number includes: high level design. It's going to be data collection. So they got to go out in the field and do all the data collection. It's going to be the make ready engineering work. So they got to go out. They'll do all the make ready stuff that we need to do. It includes project management. We got to do all the environmental work coming in, and then all the grant support. So it would be things like once we get the grant, we have to do a bunch of stuff to stay in compliance with the grant. So it includes all that. It's the exact same stuff that they did on our first statement of work for phase 1. So the statement of work is very, very similar. It's just a different area. To give you somewhat of an understanding of where this is at. So for phase 1, if you looked at what they charged us as a percentage of the overall total project, BEAD is about 10% less. So it's actually costing us a little bit more. I think they feel more comfortable doing our work now since they did the first phase. So for BEAD, it's about 10% less, which is good. It's costing us less to use their services. We feel like it's the best move forward. And here's the benefit right now is if we move forward with BEAD and we sign this and get interest going on the design, we believe we'll be 2 to 3 months ahead of schedule. As far as it, right now, they're saying that the federal government will kind of sign off on everything. It's probably going to be the end of December. More than likely, by the time we get going, it's going to probably be the end of January. Right. So we will be 3 months. If we start now, we'll be 3 months ahead of that, which what we're hoping is that as soon as we start doing all this, by the time we get approval from the federal government, which again, is probably going to be late December-ish with the holidays, it'll probably be January. We think we can have boots on the ground ready to start building in January. So we're going to literally save, in our opinion, 3 months of being able to get going on BEAD. And as you guys know, BEAD is probably the most important in timing because there's others that are going to be building. And if we can get their first type things, trying to think of anything else to say. This is a 3-month contract. So it will, again, if we get started now, it'll be free. So if you go to, under the CEO update, you can see the BEAD and Trust SOP. You go to page Exhibit A, which is page 14, and you go to that 3-month estimate, that is the number that I'm asking approval. It's in our business case. It was in the overall budget type stuff, but that's the number I'm asking to go ahead and move forward with. So I'm asking you guys to make a motion to approve me to sign into a contract. Yep. To sign into a contract with Entrust to go ahead and get started on the design of BEAD.
Which we were going to have to do anyway. You're advancing it.
I would have to start now in front of knowing that the federal government has approved this. That's the risk, really. And by the way, to let you guys know, you approved last month for us to go ahead and start risk buy. So we've placed that this morning. It ended up being about 1.1. So we went ahead and got those orders in. So we've got that coming. And I'll be quite honest, I'm going to be really interested in seeing what y'all save to go up because I guarantee you that's not going to be 1.1 in 6 months from 3 months from now. So I think you did save a lot there. So that number that you see on there, it's under that 3-month estimate. That is the dollar amount to get them going. And basically we kind of, at first they came in and wanted the whole total amount. We got them to say, hey, what happens if worst case scenario for some reason we don't, something happens with BEAD or whatever. So we negotiated with them to just take in 3 months. So we're not signing a contract for the entire project. We're doing it for the first 3 months.
But it will be the total eventually. Everything. But we already knew this. This was in the business case.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, these numbers are actually a little less than what we expected as far as their funds out before.
That's for 3 months.
That's what I'm asking you.
For them to do actual work?
Yes. That includes all the design I'll go through real quick what it includes. It's the high level design work. It's all the field data. So they're going to go out in the field and actually start assessing the poles for make ready and doing all the stuff we got to do in the field. And then they'll do all the actual low level designs, all the environmental stuff, and then the grant support stuff. So that's what that includes. We're going to end up doing it anyway. All I'm asking for is let's go ahead and start it now. Because that'll put us 3 months. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to start building best case scenario probably till Q2. Would be my guess.
So this is just design work.
Just design work. It's all it's design, project management. It's all the stuff that Entrust does for us. But it is part of the cost of the project, right? It's baked in for business cases, to Jason's point.
But it's not part of BEAD. I mean, we're not getting grant money.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all part of the total project cost.
So, okay.
Got my attention? This isn't an additional cost to anything. It is baked into
Right.
what it costs to do fiber. Same as it was phase 1. Entrusted all of our phase 1 work when it came to engineering, project support and all that.
And as far as BEAD, where are we at with that? It's approved and
We are waiting on the NTIA to give the state of Indiana approval on their overall project essentially. So it's the same thing. We waited and, now that they're shut down.
I was gonna say the government shutdown could be impactful.
That was my next question. Shutdowns affecting.
It is.
I guess I'm kind of, didn't we already approve this?
You did as a part of the overall business case, but I think it's a big enough number and there's a little bit of risk here. And so I really wanted to bring it to you.
Okay, make sure I'm just not missing anything. Like,
You approved the one.
This is not in addition to, this is just including what we've already approved.
So you're,
We're just really asking for the time.
You're accelerating it, basically.
I want you to be aware that there is risk of us spending this money and for some reason the government says, well, we're not doing this BEAD project anymore. And we've got a bunch of design work done.
And we're just looking at the column all the way to the right.
The one that says
Estimated.
a 3-month estimate.
Obviously, you don't know when the government shutdown is going to end. When do you expect the approval to be?
They're saying right now the end of December is kind of when. So that means if by the time we got by the time we got going in design, you're 3 months ahead. We're buying 3 months by starting now. And I believe that we'll be able to start actual construction in January if we start now with design.
And I believe being the first game in town is
Especially this one.
especially important. If you're second, it's going to be, even if your prices are less, unless it's significant, your people are not going to switch.
Any additional questions before we make a motion to approve?
And I think your motion just needs to be, you're granting me the authority to sign a statement of work, right? To go forward.
Go forward with it.
Yep. If you really want to read through all that, there's some pretty good stuff in there. Read it like 5 times.
Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Got a first? Second. Right, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Unanimous.
All right, our next project update is our meter replacement program. So we are roughly at 5,000. This was as 2 days ago. We have 5,000 installed out of 8,500 roughly. Next week, we will begin doubling the installers. So we're expecting now to be finished by the end of November with all of our installs in. So that's excellent. There's been very few communication issues with the meters. Crystal wanted me to make a point that we expected to have a lot of communication issues just because it's a brand new RF network. The designs and the studies are only as good as, and it's actually very few issues that we've had from a communication standpoint. So far, the RF network is working great, but we don't know until all the installs are completed. And then one other thing that Crystal wanted me to bring up, and we made it a part of our Rotary Club presentation, is that I think there's, we did a lot of marketing around why we did this meter project, but I think it always helps to just keep bringing that message. And so that if you guys get asked, why we did it and the benefits of it. So number one, you get instant outage notification. I was talking to these guys before the meeting, and it's incredible to see. We get an outage before the call center gets a call. We know when the meter's out before the member gets a call in. So that is extraordinarily powerful when we know that. Number two, Steve was a part of a big outage about a year ago, and what ends up happening with our old system is it rolls it up to the sub because the sub saw an issue that feeder did, right? But then the storm's still going. So there are feeders off of that sub that have lines down and stuff like that. Well, we don't know that, right? All we know is once they get the initial sub back on and they fire it back up, all those feeders are going to blow back off again. And then we don't know unless the member calls in. Well, the member may not even know that we've done that. So that's the beauty of these is that it's always good to know what meters are off, right? Whereas opposed to the other ones that didn't. So that was probably the biggest benefit. Voltage analysis. So every one of these things is a sensor on our system, and we can do a lot of voltage analysis types things with this If somebody calls in and says, hey, I got blinking lights or blah, 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 we can go out and download that information here at the headquarters and do some investigation on the data as far as voltage fluctuations. In the future, we can do things like when the peaks are happening, we can bring the voltage down on our system, which can save you quite a bit, right? I mean, a lot of kWh can come down. Demand readings. So we never had demand readings on our old single phase ones. These new ones, you are going to get demand readings. We've already talked about, we're going to put those on the bill, even though we're not billing for those. But someday, in my opinion, the legislative is going to force all of those utilities to charge demand, in my opinion. So these are bringing back demand. And then last and not least, and this was kind of an interesting thing that I don't know that we actually baked into the business case, but the cost of these new meters compared to the cost of the old power lines is significantly different. I mean, they're quite a bit cheaper. So that matters when you get into life cycle management of the new meters. Eventually these are electronics and eventually you're gonna have failures. These are a heck of a lot cheaper. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but they are quite a bit cheaper than the power line carriers when you have to replace those, which is our old meters. So I just wanted to real quick, again, as we're talking about the meter project, just go over those benefits and why we ended up doing this. Because it's more than just the fact that, these things are failing because they're past their useful life. There's a bunch of other benefits that come along.
Sure,
with it.
the biggest one is they're
Yeah.
past.
They're past their useful life. So that's the meter project. Those are the two projects I was going to report out on, was fiber and
Would you say that, how many are replaced? What was the
we're
percent?
about 5,000 in, out of about 8,600.
Doesn't take them long to change.
No. And they're running into some issues that we really didn't, think of. Like there's been a couple where we go in to pull the meter out and like the installer can tell like the inside of the meter box is not intact. And so they've just left it in, and we've contacted the member to say, you need to get an electrician out because we believe if we pull this meter off, it's all going to fall apart. And you're not going to be able, you won't have power. That's on their side. So there's been some things like that. There's been members that don't want changed. There's been issues where we've knocked on the door and no one answered, and then someone was there and we went around, kind of scared them or spooked them. But the guys that are doing it are very, very professional. They wear very bright uniforms. It's obvious that it's a utility worker. We are driving trucks with our names on it, and they are knocking on doors, before they just go in someone's backyard. So I think they're doing a phenomenal job. Question?
Gonna let them in, don't we? May have any questions for Brad regarding meters?
All right, so the fun thing, our metrics from last month. So this is September. So median temperature was down, so it wasn't near as warm as our 5-year average. And you'll see that some of our numbers was about 3.5% down from our 5-year average. The CCD was 46 and our 5-year average is at 125. And the HDD was 21 with a 5-year average of 38. Some people weren't running their heaters and people weren't running their air conditioners. It's typically kind of what you do see, but it was quite a bit less than what a normal September would look like. Purchased energy was up just a tad. It is basically flat with demand being down about 5.7%. If you look at retail sales, you can definitely tell on residential, we were still above our budget at 1.1 in residential. Commercial, you can see was below budget just a tad. Industrials were a tick up and transmission was a tick up. So all in all, we went from 3.08 to 3.01. So basically flat as far as overall sales. Lost consumer hours for September was pretty quiet. September is usually not too stormy of a month, but you can see we're pretty much well below our 5-year average. Also in number of outages. And those are the metrics, pretty quiet month. Questions on any of those? We good?
All right, thanks. Matt, you're up for financials.
Okay, start off with the balance sheet. I'd say plant, it's not got a letter by it. It's a 5% or 250,000, but there's lots of utility plant this past month. And I'll go over more of that later. Then the notes, you've got total current and accrued assets. Current assets is down, cash was down. Several of AR with the month switch. And then the other thing, there's not really from a liabilities and equity standpoint, there's not really anything major out of line there. Balance sheet, other than, I think the biggest thing is the plant stuff we'll talk about later. Any questions on the balance sheet? Next, we have the statement of operations. As you notice, we were not above budget this past month. As Brett said, it was cooler months, so we didn't have near as much power usage. So lots of things were under in that regard. So that's reflected in the actuals for September. In general, there's not a ton of things to say from a cash flow or the statement of operations standpoint. I mean, we're controllable expenses were a little over, but that's because they're way ahead on the right of way. In general, most everything else has been, it reflects the fact that the usage was down for the month. So any questions on that? I also know I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at it. I included all the extra forms this month. Was there any questions on any of those where I have the more commentary? And lastly is cash down 200 and cash is down for the month. And about 760,000. So.
And that you attribute to?
Most of the went on plant. Paying invoices, plant. Also, we had our capital credits hit during the month. So there was a lot of things that were putting pressures on cash in the last month. So when you send out $1 million in capital credits,
But then you pull 1.1.
we did, yeah.
So that would have
Wash.
been a wash on the capital credit part.
Yep. And then you still have the plant and the fiber and RF meters.
So last month we talked about, I don't remember what the percentage was, but we were going to be X% over margin. What are we going to do about that and planning? Now we're behind. We went from, I don't know, I wrote the notes about it.
Talk about margin.
Yeah, now we're under 51,000. Last month we were over significantly, and I asked you about plans it says at the October board meeting, we talked about what we could do maybe to meet at those margins, and it seems to have happened naturally, unless you're telling me you did something.
It happened, the majority naturally, yes.
Because of?
We had a month where you didn't have near the usage. I mean, there was a massive drop off on usage. There's also some of the stuff is coming back because so if you note on note C, the pole contact application fees, as we get bills for that, they're going against that. So that's reducing the margin there. We got a lot of money up front. So that's going to, do
you know roughly what that number is? Because that makes a big difference.
that number, I want to say it's $350,000.
I guess you're gonna have to maybe back up and walk through that with me, because I'm clear about that
So
whole contact.
So we have a large cable company that is attaching to our poles. And part of the application process is they had to pay for some of the fees up front. When where we classify that based off the RUS rules, that goes into facilities. If you look at the key revenue sheet, it's showing up in the rent from electric property is where that went, is where we coded it. And then as we are getting the money, as we're paying the engineering firm, we're applying their invoices back against that.
Point to the actual, as we're paying the engineering, still, that probably shouldn't be.
No. So essentially, when you guys approved us we did a brand new policy or contract around pole attachments. So this cable attacher that you're talking to, this is like 1,200 poles. So yeah, I think it's even more than that. I mean, so
The amount of dollars when this is all said and done is in the millions.
Yeah.
So
so what we're asking for is when they come to us and say, hey, we want to attach, there's a certain amount they have to pay. And it's a lot of money up front for us to process them.
and the idea was that if we're going to pay an engineering firm, before we pay the money out, we want the money up front so we're not left on.
Because the fear is that if they decide not to do it and go underground, then we're stuck with an engineering.
So you're hiring an engineer to say, yes, these poles we don't have to do any make ready, or we do.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. And as we get the bills, we're applying.
This is all new attachments.
Yes.
Nothing that's
This
existed.
is all new.
It's a big number. And it does goofy things.
So if you look at the key revenues spreadsheet, if you go to line 454, rent from electrical property, you'll notice that it was negative during this month.
Meaning that you spent more in engineering costs than actually collected in.
Yes. But the number is very large if you look at year to date, because we collected a whole bunch up front.
So the margin number, you're attributing mostly to lower sales during the.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and the gross margin standpoint. Now from some of the other stuff, I mean, way ahead on right away. I mean, if you look at the operation, they can see that year to date, pull it up here. We are right away $250,000 ahead of the year. And that's a timing issue. They're farther along than what they normally would be.
Wouldn't that be, the right of ways is encompassed in your controllables, right?
Yes.
So your 2025 cumulative controllables are at or below what you expected them to be in total. So even though right of way would be ahead, your controllables are still where you thought they would be.
We're 61,000 ahead of controllables here today. But I'm saying that that's further ahead because of the right of way and the timing issues.
It's just a one big swap
Yes.
in 30 days. And your cash dropped significantly. Like, is that even a comfortable number?
It's,
a snapshot too. Though.
yeah, the end of the month is always
Yeah, but we always compare that same time frame. So You know, it's always the same time of the month that we're comparing.
Yeah.
Every month.
Well, I mean, if you look at what it was last year, it's not a whole lot different from last year.
Something, 300,000. That seems like
I
a
think
lot
that's a
to me.
significant difference.
That seems like a lot to me.
When you have,
47.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, when you have, from a percentage standpoint of the amount of money going in and out, that's not a huge amount.
To help clarify,
And
Matt,
I could pay, I can not pay one fiber bill till the first of the month and swing that whole amount.
but to help clarify, do you know what that number is as of today?
When I checked the bank yesterday, there was $2.3 million in there.
You just collected bills.
That's right. So,
So that's why I said, so even though you're doing it at the month end every time, a lot of it has to do with the timing of how
well, I mean,
everything
it
falls.
depends on too, on what we, I mean, if we pay a big bill on the 31st versus the first, it makes a big
So
difference.
here's the question. You're comfortable with that number based on what you know, so.
Yeah, I'm fine with that number.
That's the question.
Well, and again, to the point that the number you just shared as of today, 3 weeks into the next month, it's a lot bigger.
I mean, now that money's going to disappear when we pay Hoosier.
Sure.
That's,
I just want to ask you once it disappears.
I mean, we are going to be borrowing long-term money here very shortly. I mean, in general, I contact CFC, our representative, on a regular basis to see what their opinions are. And I try to watch. I mean, in general, most of their crystal balls are not sure what's going to happen. And it's cheaper right now to have money on the line of credit than it is to borrow it long-term. So it's not like it was a few years ago when interest was so cheap that I could pretty much say, yep, I'll back the truck up and borrow every dollar you can. I don't know what the right move is, but at this point, if it's cheaper to borrow short term than long term, I'm gonna borrow short term until I need to borrow long term. Because the long term is better. I mean, it's there, we got it approved, and as the fiber invoices come in, they're gonna get put on the long term. I mean, once we capitalize and go to spread those out, just because that's how it's gonna be. Plus, it makes it much easier to segregate it down the road between the divisions. The biggest thing that I in the operations statement that I did want to point out for everybody to read is it is on the page 9, the very last note I put there underneath admin, and I bolded it. Because I do think that's something you all need to be aware of when you look at everything that is occurring. It's the talks about the overall labor budget throughout the business. Because I do think that impacts everything from to budget standpoint in every department in the labor categories. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because I thought that was.
Gary's talking about is at the end.
Yes. The other thing that's on the budget, usually the budget comparatively is in the operations budget. The large impact is due to the variance of installed transformers and meters. So in our budget, we had all the meters starting to hit. And with the screwy RUS accounting rules of having to capitalize the labor to put those in. One of the things we were waiting to hear back from the auditors is due to the fact that the meters are being installed by a third party, since one of the things you did ask is from a margin standpoint, if we can not capitalize all that labor, it would have a massive impact then on the, so that's another big thing that changed your operations. Your
So the answer was no, you've got to capitalize all that third-party labor.
I'll have to capitalize the third-party labor. What I'm talking about is capitalizing the internal labor that we normally have to tack on when we buy a meter. So normally, one of the,
But that's not this number. This is just administrative costs related to the
no,
RFP project.
I'm sorry, I'm putting two things together there. The second bold line answers part of your question to the why did our stuff shift so much to go from budget to under? So in September's budget, there was a budgeted purchase of like 620 meters. And we didn't capitalize any of them that they're hanging because we're going to do that all at once. So instead of putting all those in and it pulling down your mark, which when we buy a transformer or a meter, we have to capitalize our internal labor that it would take to do that, which is an RUS rule. It goes against the normal, I would say it goes against normal accounting and any other.
Is that an estimated amount, that labor? Or do you have a?
We have, it's based off, based on,
Relative history?
yes, it's based off of a history, and it gets pulled in based off the average cost. So because if we buy 50 transformers, they're not necessarily going to all be hung in the next month. Because I mean, when we get them, we get a semi full, and then they'll put them up until they get low. Then he orders another semi full of all different kinds, and based off of, I mean, with the lead times on everything, you got to have a certain amount of everything just from a safety stock standpoint. So but RUS, the goal there, our accounting system, the best way to describe it, it's based off the idea that the federal government was the source of money for all the REMCs in the 30s. And they designed the accounting of how it has to work, and they tell you what goes where. Their goal was they didn't want somebody to have a bunch of transformers sitting in inventory. And so they made you capitalize them and start depreciating them immediately, even if they're not hanging on the poles.
So once we have them,
The moment they're here, we have to capitalize that transformer.
with the estimated labor amount,
Estimated labor has to be put to it. So that way RUS is never caught upside down on their loan on that type of stuff. It's my assumption. I can't say for sure that was their thinking, but that's your
depreciation starts day one the next month
Yes.
then?
That way, if you buy a bunch of specialized equipment, if you buy specialized equipment like transformers, meters, or switches or things like that, they want you to capitalize and depreciate them from day one. That way you don't have something that sits there for 30 years and it didn't work and they're out their money. And it keeps them from ever getting upside down.
So you're saying you got a scheduled, budgeted 5 meters in September.
Yes. So we did not, we have a bunch of, in our budget, we had budgeted for the purchase of 600 meters. And that is why if you guys don't necessarily have that exact, but that's why the operations budget for that month, why we are over budget by $100 and some thousand in operations is because the labor that would have been capitalized, that was budgeted for being capitalized, was not. Because we're going to wait until we're done with the meter project and then put all that through. So
I'll come out and that's going to get capitalized when
maybe
it's done.
we are asking to see, can we not capitalize all that labor since a third party did because as you have said, it would, that would be a way to, if you don't capitalize the labor, it's expensed. So that would reduce the margin. And I think an argument can very well be made, since a third party is doing it and all the labor that our guys have done to do the DCUs has already been capitalized. it's part of that account that I showed you at the bottom, that 186. We have already done what this is trying to do. So I'll need the auditor to bless that, but that is the idea, to accomplish one of the things that you guys asked last month, as well as stay. The rules as it concerns transformers and meters only makes sense if you look at them from the standpoint of the people who made those rules is RUS. And they want to make sure they get their money back. And when you look at it from the opposite side, it makes sense why you.
So they don't want to have money loaned on transformers that are sitting out here depreciating that's of no
Well,
value.
they want you to depreciate them. That's why they don't ever.
Yeah, not depreciating, that are losing value.
Yeah.
And therefore their loan value is here and the asset value is going like this.
So they want them, that's why they do it that way, which it took me.
It makes sense.
It makes sense from their standpoint, but if you're it's not like if you build a building and then you depreciate it when you're done. Well, every time you bought a component, you buy a board. Yeah. And I get why they do it that way. It definitely plays havoc with the operations department's financials. That one department where the meters and the transformers hit can really be shifted. I mean, based off how many meters and transformers you buy in a year. Because of how they make you do it. I know that's a very long-winded explanation, but it took me a good long while to understand why it worked that way, because intuitively from an accounting standpoint, it doesn't make sense. But when you look at it, if you're the government and you don't want to get caught upside down, well, that makes sense. Yep. All right. Any other questions on that? The next I have is plant. I do have several things there I want to bring up. One thing is the pole replacements. I know in the past, when we got to the point where we were trucking along and we were going to blow through the budgeted amount, you wanted us to come for more. So I guess I'm coming for more. So part of this number, there is some of the poles that are being replaced for the cable company. So there's a good, I can give you the amount that is part of that we will be reimbursed for. And we did get a check for a bunch of it today. There is $225,000 in the pole replacements number that is make ready for that cable company. And as we complete a work order, there are probably 30 of them. We are billing them for the actual costs. So, and I did receive a check that I put in the bank today for 80 grand for one of those work orders. So that number, so that 1,565,000, 225 of that is for make ready. That will be, it'll go in and it'll go out. In order to bill them properly, we run it through the work order, which is showing up there. And then when I get them billed, it will come back. It will, as we bill them, as we complete the work orders, that number will drop. So it's going to go up and it's going to go down. Also included in that, there is the red tag meter poles. They've been making great progress there. There's about 150 there. And then I know there was last year, the 2024 red tag poles that got completed in 25. That was one of the things we talked about, was the poles would be that there's always a little bit of carryover, but I do have something on that for this year. So there's over 100 I believe 150 there for that. And then one thing I did want to point out is all the red tag poles in New Point that were tested in 24, replaced in 25. That is done. And that is included in that as well. And then one thing that happened as well, since we had our 2025 poles were tested, as those came back, there were several that were rush condemned that needed to be done immediately. And Johnny has had the guys, or had contractor go out and replace the 3-phase ones that were rush condemned before winter, so that way they're not gonna be an issue. And in that number, there's about 72,000 so far there. He's got about 60 poles there that were 3-phase, that from a safety and just get them done before it's a problem. So these would typically be replaced in 26, but from a safety and being rush condemned, we always try to get them done. There's more of them this year than in the past. And along with that, he did want to ask, and I think this is good too, to ask is as they are completing these, he's done the 3-phase rush condemned. He would like to have them continue to do the 1-phase rush condemned and as if they have time to continue on. But that would normally be something we would budget in 26 versus 25. So I guess the request there would be is it okay if we request $250,000 to keep going with the rush condemned red tag poles that we would be replacing in early 26 versus, and just keep on going with them while he's got people here that can do it.
A couple of things I'd like to add to that. Number one, the contractors that we're using are kicking butt, right? So we've never had this problem where, and there was an action item, I think, Carl, that you had asked months and months ago, is if we get out in front of condemned poles and we have the test results, can we keep going on them? And the answer is that's what we're asking for today, is we want to keep going on condemned poles. Don't stop. They're going to be more expensive next year if we wait till next year. We won't need to rebid it because of the fact that we did bid this, when we started with these guys. It's like the red tag meter poles. I think you just keep going.
They're making, I look at it, it's so much nicer to come in and say, hey, we're way ahead.
And I should probably know this answer, but red tagged meter poles and condemned poles,
Yes.
difference.
No, I mean, well, so there's a red tagged and condemned are the same thing in my mind.
Okay, because
But
you
there
gave
is
the
a-
number for the condemned and the number for the red meter. I just want to make sure I'm not missing it.
There's meter poles that
But
are
the meter to poles, we've kind of always been separate. We've just kind of put.
Okay, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, they're just a different, they're a pole with a
It
meter on.
has to be replaced.
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought maybe there was another, because we used to have it all broke out in different categories. Remember, we had red meter
Yep.
from prior year, red meter from current year, red meter from next year. I don't ever remember a condemned category. So when you said that, I just want to make sure I was. So basically that takes us to we're at 968, basically off those numbers you just rattled off. I don't have a problem with moving forward, but that's my personal.
How do you identify the pole? I mean, I noticed,
I think they got either a red ribbon around them or red thing on them.
okay, red ribbon around them.
by law, they have to put, there's a actual tag that has certain language on it. They have to nail that in. And then typically they'll put a piece of actual red tape around it.
And then there's some,
And it's a little red arrow pointing down.
and then there's some that they say, hey, you got to get to these now. They're not safe.
Those are
And
the
those
ones
are the ones
Johnny's already.
went ahead and did because
There
it
was
was a safety issue.
Around them, you gotta be replaced ASAP or.
You wouldn't know from looking at the pole, Carl, whether it was a condemned rush or just a condemned.
Right, but they're gonna be replaced.
Yeah, they gotta, normally we replace, if it's condemned in 25, we're gonna replace that in 26,
Right.
right? Unless it's a rush job. If they're saying, hey, look, this thing's gonna fall down.
All I know is 2 miles,
I really don't think so.
300 north and 500 north on 120 east.
Yeah.
And there's about.
Quite a few of them. Yeah.
I don't feel like it should be a 1-1 to 1231 number.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think like when the number's up at 1240, 1230 that we need to stop and wait till the budget hits 1-1.
I agree.
If we're going this quickly, because we've had years that we sat here wanting leftover money, upset that we didn't get them done.
Yeah, I agree.
Members upset they weren't done, so.
Yeah. That's what I said. It's sure nice to come in asking to do more than
Just to double check, everything that we're replacing is going to be fiber ready poles.
Yes.
We're not,
yeah.
We actually, every pole, no matter
In the last 10 years,
if we're
they've-
putting fiber on or not, we've been using 40.
So.
So you're requesting 250.
He thinks that'll get him through the end of the year.
Can I make the motion for
Sure.
250,000 to be approved
Second.
for the pole replacement?
We have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. It's unanimous.
All right, call to order. So call to order is going to web-based, and we are going to be picking that up, and it's probably going to be in the next month or so, depending on how we get scheduled with NISC. So here's the deal. Eventually, your app is not going to work on here. You're going to have to actually get on the website. We'll create a shortcut, make it a little easier, but you're going to go into the website for call to order rather than an app. We've got to call out to Hoosier, and I've got to call out to IEC to figure out if they're going to do the upgrade. Because if they're going to do the upgrade, then we're going to have to do the same thing with them, right? Eventually, they're going to have to go that direction. But I don't know if they're going to be as quick as what we're planning on doing. And so what I wanted to discuss is your iPads were just purchased, I think, in 2022. So typically we wouldn't replace those until July of 27 is kind of the date, right? So we could do a couple things. We could, in 27, our opinion is give you a stipend for a computer and you guys manage your own device, essentially. And you would get a stipend based upon the longevity of a normal computer, right? And you guys could go for it. If you wanted an iPad, you could get an iPad. If you want a laptop, you could go get a laptop. You would get a stipend from us, no different than giving you one of these. But as I said, we would, 27 is when we would normally replace them. Now you could do it before then, or we could stay the path that we are doing today, but you're going to have to go to a website rather than the app. And again, I don't know on Hoosier yet what they're doing. They're eventually going to have to do the same thing because that's what NISC is going to, which is going to, in my opinion, be way better. Because really, you don't even need anything. You can get on your computer at home, get on the website and get on call. It'll look exactly the same. It's just going to be web-based. What I would propose is we give you some type of stipend and how, so an average computer lasts, I think, 5 years or something. So you get a stipend every 5 years or something. Something like that. And then you guys can manage your own device. That way you could all decide if you like the iPad, you can stick with an iPad. And if you like a laptop, you can get a laptop. Because I think the prices aren't that much different. So anyways, we don't need a decision tonight. I was just, number one, letting you know we've probably got another month or so
Before it becomes web-based.
Web-based, because we are scheduled. We are in the queue to be scheduled for that upgrade. Then the app's not available. And again, I don't know what IEC's schedule is. I don't know what Hoosier's is.
But we still have these used for, we go to the web.
You can still get on call to order. You're just not going to go through the app.
I understand. But my point is, we still have the opportunity to use these.
Yeah.
Instead of.
You could wait until 27 when these need all replaced and then do something.
Table it till 27.
Yeah. I'm just making you aware.
Got a motion to second on the agenda for 27. Steve, remember that, okay?
Secretary Steve.
Secretary Steve, put that on.
I do think
October 27th.
it gives us I think it's going to give you some flexibility to take care of some of the issues where some of you like iPads and are used to working on iPads and some of your computers and maybe.
It'll be nice to have access to it anywhere.
Yeah, it's true.
Traveling or at the office, not having to have this to have access to these. Yeah. What's that?
Doesn't work international.
Good to know.
Yeah, don't take your iPad, please.
That's great to know.
That's it.
All right. We'll talk about that in 27.
Okay.
The next item has to do with some of the preliminary discussion we had last month regarding Rule 16, I think it is. There's some red line changes that have been shown to us here, along with policy 2.1. I don't think it shows any changes for it.
So one of the big things, and I'm going to go through the memo, that outlines all these changes. But essentially, our attorney, well, I was working with Erin on this, and her recommendation is get rid of policy 2.1. Because those are really things that need to be in the rules and regs. So what I'm saying is just rescind 2.1, get rid of it. Moved everything that's in 2.1 over to rules and regs, which is where it should be.
Steve, before we start the discussion on this, I would ask that we have an opportunity at some point to have some discussion concerning the slide extension policy in executive session. Because I'm going to bring up some individual member names, individual cases that probably shouldn't be recorded. So I'm just asking for an opportunity in executive session to discuss this.
Sure, and I mean, if the board thinks that we ought to do maybe the entirety of this in executive session, we could do that. That way, maybe no mistakes will be made.
And that's up to you guys. If Brett wants to go over his overview or, memo.
Certainly do that if you want, or we can just go. Okay. So I think at this time, I'm fine with it. I think the rest of the board is as well. We'll go ahead and get out of open session and we'll go into executive session at this time. All right. Wait. And we're going to be talking about any director training or conference report out from last month. Did we have any participation? Hearing that, I am going to mention, Brad and I actually attended a dinner with Erin Alchin. Am I pronouncing his name correct? And she's the congressional person in the 9th district. And whether it was good or bad, whether the timing was good or bad, it was the second day after the shutdown. And so, her argument right at that point was, we have no idea how long this is going to last. And now we're in what? Week number 3.5, going on 4. Nobody still knows. She talked a little bit about Trump himself, and he's the real deal. He never sleeps. We don't know how he continues to do what he does. What was the other thing I was going to mention? FEMA was a thing that was mentioned. You guys have heard a lot about FEMA, them wanting to do away with it or whatever. She mentioned that they're actually wanting to do some major modifications with FEMA. Just still keep it, but look at it much closer. I don't know if you have anything else to.
She's short for a second term.
She really is. Yeah. I was impressed. I met her one other time, but I was impressed at this meeting.
It's always neat to be at those meetings because they're off record. They know that they're with friendlies and they can open up a lot more.
Yeah. So that was that. And then, we have the annual meeting resolutions to look at.
Yeah, so we got to get going on the annual meeting stuff. So we're proposing Friday the 12th at a place. Last year we didn't put like a determined place on there. I think I don't even know where they're planning on it right at this point, but we got to get the date marked down. It's per resolution, so we put that in here. We are recommending going with survey and ballot, keeping it the exact same that we've done here in the last couple of years. So we put that in there because we got to get I don't know what the discount is. I think it's only like $300 or $400, but you do get a discount if you sign it before November. So we're suggesting going with them. We went through a bidding thing last year and you're not going to find the same product with a different supplier. And we feel like what we got works. It's probably the best in class. And so that's what we're recommending.
The majority of the areas all use them too.
Yeah.
I mean, all the annual meetings I've attended, they've all used.
Yeah, they're pretty popular.
They've done very well.
I'll tell them when you guys know when or where. Any ideas?
Oh, I'm sure they probably already know. I'm just not aware.
Okay.
I'm not on the committee. I'm not working that.
Well, so I need a motion to, approve the resolution.
I'm not on
We have a first. Second. Carl, second. First and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That was the same. Yeah, that's unanimous. And then, hometown nothing, Brian? And Jason, you're busy today even, so.
Yeah, we had a little-
You can share with us.
I just a few highlights on October 6th, been a regular meeting. The minutes for that meeting are available on your call to order. I'm going to just point out to you that the paragraph that says, Hoosiers rate outlook through 2027 is stable based on the current business plan assumptions. And our number one rising cost is transmission. So Hoosiers looking at investment opportunities for a transmission system to move load from other transmission owners onto our own. So that's something that they're working on and that we haven't really talked a lot about in this room to mitigate those costs. We had talked about the PPA for the nuclear facility in Michigan that may be live between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is way ahead of schedule. Looks now that that's probably going to be more like the January, February timeframe, which is still ahead and still on budget. That was important. I also, on the 15th, I had a one-on-one meeting with Donna Walker. She continues to do one-on-one meetings with all board members and member system CEOs annually. So that was a good meeting. Today I had employee relations committee meeting where we talked about merit increases for Hoosier staff. And then tomorrow I have a finance and audit committee meeting in Bloomington. So that's really all I have.
Jason, in the paragraph they mentioned, it says the current outlook includes a decrease in member energy sales due to certain commercial and industrial loads not materializing. For you?
I mean, I don't really know specifically what customers or what service territory we're talking about.
I don't, but essentially when they put together their business case plan, they had certain loads that they're anticipating and they just never turn on. It's nothing. Maybe no.
I mean, I think we're kind of
Probably
difficult right
standard.
now too with all the data center discussion. There's a lot of that movement going on and I mean, not for us necessarily right now, but in the whole system in totality, there's some projects. Yeah, sure. So it's moving. It's a very fluid.
And I did have a IEC board meeting last week, and they're not the actual minutes approved because we just had it, but it's a board summary, and it really goes into quite a bit of depth. So I don't need to go through a lot of that. A couple of things I just wanted to mention: the budget was approved with about a 2.2% dues increase across the board. Some of that's related to Northeastern REMC no longer being a part of IEC. In addition, there's a couple task force that have been created. One from by Governor Braun that John Cassidy is now involved in. I'm not sure how much say he has, but they're looking for kind of a 5-year plan, 20-year plan. And then Ryan Heater is on the nuclear energy task force. In addition to what else is mentioned in there, I'm not so sure they talk about the annual meeting, but I hope you all saw the email from Jeannie. So the annual meeting is the 8th and the 9th. They did talk about speakers. I wrote down some names, but Brian Singletary is going to be there. I think he's going to be a speaker at Monday session. Did you?
He's doing a BLC class on Sunday.
And he's going to do the BLC class, from what I understand. But he's also going to be a speaker, and it's at the Mary Hall, at the big one, I guess, because they're doing renovations on the old. But the business meeting is going to be Tuesday morning, which typically I think it used to be at the end of Wednesday. So Dale, you're going to need to be there Tuesday morning.
I confirmed with Jeannie that I would be. I just wasn't sure if I'm going to do the BLC class on Sunday
Gotcha.
or what the case is. But I told them I would be going. I'm going to ask who else is, that can be a sidebar conversation.
Yeah, we can talk through that here shortly. But again, you can go ahead and reserve a slot. In addition, then we have, well, before we adjourn, I want to mention our November meeting is on the 25th, I believe, here. And that's really all I have. So anybody have anything else before we adjourn the open session? We good? Take a motion to adjourn. Okay, Carl. We are adjourned. Another quick break and we will go into executive.